morning, people of Oahu, or maybe people who want to come to Oahu. I'm in my noisy little apartment here in Makiki, and what I'd like to do today is to give you 3 ways that you can either live for free or for very, very cheap on Oahu. Now listen, I pay $1,200 a month for a little shoebox full of cockroaches. Now would I wish that on anyone else? Not really. I mean, listen, everybody's in their own situation, but this I think will especially apply to 1, if you're a couple, 2, if you're single, okay, and you don't have any kids. But hey, you can always do anything you want as long as you're willing to pay the consequences. That's what I've learned. So maybe you got kids and you want to try the 3 methods I'm going to recommend anyway, and hey, you'll be stoked. Anyways, so let's get right into it. Method 1, you can live in a van. Okay, now this may sound crazy at first, but I've done it. And look, I'm going to show you a picture right here, of my van. This was in the 90s. I lived over on Maui. I bought a Volkswagen van. I lived in it for about 8 months. I surfed every day. I worked as a busboy at night. It was quite the life. You know, it was. I had more money than I knew what to do with, even as a busboy. I was now take in mind, I was in my early 20s, so it depends on what point in time your life is. But for me, at that time, it was great. Now, a couple tips on living in your van in Hawaii. If you're not here yet, I would come with enough money to stay at a regular place, you know, wherever you decide to rent, a furnished studio, whatever it is, friend's house, for a month. Besides moving into the van, maybe a month, maybe a little longer. It all depends. The reason is you don't want to jump into the first van. You don't want to be at this point where you're desperate. So where you get off an airplane and you buy the first van you see, because I don't know about you, but when I'm in a rush or I'm desperate, I make very bad decisions. And you know, you're talking about buying your first home here, so you want to, yeah, you want to take your time. You want to maybe, if you find something in a couple weeks, you want to take some time to dial it in for living, you know, maybe build some little storage spaces, a little bed platform, whatever you're going to do, you can do that when you're not under pressure. Also, yeah, it's good just to make sure it's mechanically solid, make sure the registration is up to date. Also, when you buy a van, or any vehicle actually here in Hawaii, make sure that there's no tickets on it, because those tickets, as stupid as it sounds, they get passed on to the new owner. So if the guy who's selling you the van has 5 parking tickets, guess who pays them? You do. So make sure that, you know, it's the deal is in the up and up. And you know what paying for a place does for a month is it allows you to not make a rush decision. And the other thing you want to make sure is that the safety of the van is, you know, buy a van that's decent. You know, don't buy a $1,000 or an $800 van. I mean, unless it's a really good deal, but don't just buy the cheapest van you can get, because it breaks down. You know, you're homeless, man. Now you're really homeless. So, you know, this obviously only appeals to a certain type of person, but hey, I did it. I did it for a better part of a year, and if my girlfriend at the time didn't force me to get a apartment, I probably would have just lived in the van the whole time. You know, I started on Maui, then I shipped it over to Oahu, and yeah, you can ship, you know, if you find, that's the other thing that's great, is if you're coming over here to explore, you can, it's pretty easy to ship your van inter-island. It costs a couple $100, and yeah, wherever you go, there you are, and you got a home. Okay. Number 2 is woofing, if you've never heard of woofing, or a, you know, a live-in handyman position, which you will find mainly on the North Shore, or yeah, actually they're all over the island, but not so much in Honolulu, because what they are is they are looking for a caretaker. Caretaker is the word I'm looking for there. You can trade your labor and time to caretake a property, and you mostly find these in the North Shore. I did this also. I wasn't a live-in, but I was just a temporary hand. But I talked with a Canadian couple that was a live-in, and they worked a set amount of hours per week, and then they got a free place to stay. Now, this is obviously not free living, because you're giving your time, but what it does do is it allows you time to get situated with the island, get situated with where you're at, and then you can make a more informed decision when you're looking to buy an apartment. Okay. There's also, if you're not looking on Oahu, there's a lot of caretaking positions available on the Big Island and Maui on the outer islands because they're more rural. Obviously, in Honolulu, you don't have many properties with large lots because of just the cost. All right. So the third thing that I would recommend, or I don't know if I'd recommend it. This is the only one I don't have personal experience with. Again, I had a friend that did this. You can live in a tent. You can live wild, I guess is what you'd call it. You live in a tent, and you might call this being homeless, but this guy that I'm talking about, he lived up in Kalihi Valley. Now, I live in Honolulu. I live in a very urban area as far as Oahu goes. Very urban area, and there is there's really there's a lot of lush green valleys right outside of town. So you can hike back up into the valleys and you won't see another person. And that's essentially what my friend did. Is he lived up in Kalihi Valley, which is it's about 15 minutes from Makiki. It's 15 minutes where I'm at now. Where he set up his little camp was about a 30 or 45 minute hike in. So he would drive up to the end of the road, he'd park, and he'd hike into where he lived 45 minutes. Again, this is obviously free. You run the risk of wild pigs or people coming and finding you, but you can set up and you can probably live undisturbed. I know he did, and he did it for a few years. Now, the only reason I mention this is I actually did this in Colorado. I lived in a tent for about 5 months. I did it in the winter. I had nice gear. And again, it is important, I think, to have nice gear. If you're going to be living in a tent outdoors, you want to be comfortable. So it is important, I think, to invest in nice gear and also to find a location that you feel safe at. And so I would also recommend, if you're going to do that, maybe coming for a place, staying in a place for a month. So you can hike around, find a place you like, and you can pitch a tent, where you're not going to be disturbed. But the flip side with all of these is, while, like, for example, in the last one, you have to live, my friend, he lived outside of town for 45 minutes, he didn't have to work much, he just had to eat, that's it. Eat and maintain his truck. I hope you find these tips helpful. Please give this video a thumbs up or subscribe, or leave a comment, let me know, that you watched it, or you enjoyed it, or you didn't enjoy it, whatever. It just lets me know that people are out there watching the video. So, alright, Spot here, signing off. Aloha.